Everything that went so thoroughly wrong that spring can be traced back to the divorces. Capital T, capital D for emphasis. The divorces. They came in a set of 3, like celebrity deaths and plane crashes, and ruined everything, leaving the once invincible core 4 broken and tattered. That's what they called themselves, the core 4. They were a group of friends who'd been together for more than 2 decades. Their origin story was both convoluted and utterly mundane, because, well, that's how it is with friends. They met in college at Johns Hopkins. Mitch and Alan had a chem lab together and became fast friends, mostly because they were the 2 worst students in the class. Megan was the bridge that linked the genders. She lived in Alan's dorm and was way smarter than Alan and Mitch, so she helped them through their dreaded science requirements in exchange for occasional access to Alan's Honda Accord. Sarah worked with Megan at the campus bookstore, where they bonded over Margaret Atwood while selling Hopkins hoodies. They scored a couple of fake IDs sophomore year and hit the Green Turtle one night after work, where they ran into Alan, who'd just smuggled Mitch in through the back door. Mitch had a minor crush on Megan, a 3 on a scale of 10, but he never acted on it because Megan called him Buddy whenever possible, and clearly thought he was a bit of a doofus. Sarah could have been persuaded to like Alan if the stars had aligned, but they never did, even in the face of so much casual drunkenness, which was a sign that it was simply never meant to be. Consequently, Mitch, Alan, Megan, and Sarah became one of those flirty but platonic little cohorts that are the foundation of any decent college experience. And then Alan met Doug while playing intramural basketball. Doug was lights out from 3-point range, a natural-born athlete, but he couldn't dribble to save his life. He joined the group from time to time at trivia night in the rec center and became a permanent fixture one Thursday when they all went to a Counting Crows concert at the last minute in D.C. and had a blast. Sarah and Doug made out during the song Mr. Jones and became the group's first couple. Terry, who had a part-time job at Doug's favorite used music store, started showing up too. Terry lived in a house off campus and had a seemingly endless supply of vintage concert t-shirts, which was cool, and he had the best sideburns that any of them had ever seen, straight out of Beverly Hills 90210. Sideburns, like Counting Crows, were a thing people talked about a lot in the 90s. Terry was an indie alternative to the typical preppy Hopkins guy, and Megan was into it right away. They started dating almost immediately. Amber and Jessica were late additions to the group, recruited during blurry nights out in the city. Mitch saw Jessica at a bar in Canton and was instantaneously dazzled by her, despite her enormous flannel and her complete indifference toward him. Mitch famously told Alan later that night that he was gonna make that girl love me if it's the last thing I ever do. A few months later, they were all at a house party in a sketchy neighborhood near Camden Yards when in walked Amber. "Wow, look at her!" Alan yelled over the music, as smooth as ever. They paired off over the 16 months leading up to the end of their senior year, Megan with Terry and Amber with Alan in 1998, and then Jessica with Mitch and Sarah with Doug in 1999. Henceforth, they were officially the Core 4. And like any group legit enough to have its own name, they did everything together. This eventually included graduating, becoming gainfully employed, and getting married. Megan and Terry and Sarah and Doug had their weddings a few months apart in the summer. Both ceremonies were lovely, featuring epic toasts, discarded bow ties, and, in Megan and Terry's case, a breakdancing ring bearer. Alan and Amber had an ill-advised winter ceremony, always a dicey proposition in the Northeast. An ice storm a few hours before the rehearsal dinner tested everyone's resolve, particularly that of the caterer, who everyone later agreed had to have been on some kind of mood stabilizer. Jessica and Mitch's wedding was last, in the spring, on Fenwick Island in Delaware, and it was perfect. Well, almost perfect. 2 seagulls destroyed the wedding cake during the reception, but the guests were all drunk by then, so everyone would remember it as hilarious. The Core 4 drank together in an endless loop of 4th of Julys and New Year's Eves and Halloweens and charity bar crawls in the city. They waited a while to have kids, the Core 4, because what was the rush? And when they finally did, all the wives but Amber got pregnant in unison. The little ones learned to walk together, wrestled and rented bouncy houses at sweaty birthday parties, and started pre-K at the same time.